This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac, Jack, and Jim Big Football Show. We're on every Sunday morning from 8 to 10 a.m. Probably my favorite show to do during the week. We have a lot of shows, but this is got to be the best show that we do. Good morning, Jack. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, good morning, fellas.
Good morning.
This feels like the day after Sunday football with all the games yesterday.
It really does. And the way the games played out.
True.
And I would say that too.
And we got a lot of games to go through today too. It's all football this weekend. I love these kind of weekends.
Good morning, Pickles. When are we going to get you on the show?
I don't think he really wants to come on. I don't blame him, Jim. I'll tell you. How would you like? Will you imagine him coming on with Jack? I mean, that would be. I don't wish that on anyone.
Pickles is running neck and neck with me for the best record, from what I understand. You know.
Yeah. I think he's ahead of you by one game, Jack. Last time we checked. So.
He's unofficial though.
Yeah. He's our secret agent. So, guys, of course, we're going to get the biggest stories is yesterday's games, as a lot of playoff implications, a lot of seeding changes. The standings have changed so much. So let's get to it. We had Buffalo. I mean, what a game with Miami. They win it 33-29. Cleveland beats Baltimore 13-3. Who thought that was going to happen? And probably in the most exciting game of the three, you got Minnesota coming back with the biggest comeback in NFL history, beating the Colts 39-36. Jim, I mean, you played football for many years. Have you ever seen a weekend like this?
No, I haven't, and it's pretty. It was fun to watch because you sit back, like Jack asked before the show. I really never sat down when I played or even coached and watched games. Now I'm watching them like a fan, and it was exciting because I didn't think Minnesota had a chance of coming back. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean,
no, I gotta tell you something funny. Okay. I couldn't get in the beginning the Colt Viking game on my app because my cable carrier here in Florida is different from the one in New York. And the one in New York, I have the NFL network. I don't have it here, I noticed. So all of a sudden, I can't get the game. So I use a remote control, and by sound, you say the game you want to see. I get the Jackson State game. I see Deion Sanders. I'm watching that game. In Deion's career, Jackson State, ended in a disappointing overtime loss. But I'm kind of watching that. But eventually, I got to the end of the Viking Colt game. And
unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable. It really was. And Pickle, he's got to get a haircut and sober up. So, all right, maybe Pickles. So maybe that's the secret to his picks. Maybe we got to do a little bit more drinking when we're picking the game. So, wait a minute. I
was 3-0. I've been picking them real well, Mac. What the hell?
You picked Cleveland?
I picked Cleveland.
Okay, then me and Mac were 2-1 on that one.
Right. So don't brag too much, Jack. We're right there with you.
So you'll lose it today, Jack, because I know you're going to.
Yeah. So let's break down a game.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
Go ahead.
All right.
No, I was going to say, I know we're going to break it down, but whoever Miami peed off with the schedule makers, that is terrible. They had 3 road games, 2 in California and 1 in Buffalo, New York. That's not right.
I said that in the beginning of the year, and both you guys criticized me. The NFL schedule should be geared according to the climate. A game at this type of year, it should have been Buffalo at Miami. A warm weather team shouldn't be going to Buffalo in the middle of December.
Oh, cut it out.
Jack, come on. They play in the AFC East. Yes. It gets cold in the East. Not everybody has the opportunity to go to Florida like you.
Right,
Jim, you're the same guy when your son was playing in the Grey Bowl. You were complaining it was 21 degrees out. You weren't even playing, and you were whining about that.
But I went and I watched it.
Yeah,
I just
he wasn't on the side. He wasn't on. Don't let him fool you. He wasn't a sideline, guys. He was up there in the booth eating and drinking.
Yeah, it was probably the one in the intersection with the heat.
Right. Good morning, Keith. Keith Engle from TJ Sport.
How you doing?
I always come into a ruckus. Good morning, everybody. How you doing?
Well, that's how we do here. You know what I mean, Keith? So, then that's not Keith doing crowd and coffee picks. That's Pickles. So,
yes.
Pickles is picking while drinking. Keith, that's his
crowd and coffee. Maybe I should try that. The coffee's not working. Maybe I should try some crowd.
Well, Pickles. That's how he picks his games. He told us. So that's what we're going to start trying to do.
Real quick, just to Jack's point, and if you were to do that, you'd be giving those warm weather cities the home field advantage. They'd have an advantage in that.
I agree.
So I don't agree with that at all.
Jack just says, Jack, what did he play? He played touch football. So, when it comes to football, you take it for what it's worth,
Jack, if Jack had his way, they'd never play in the snow. They never play on a wet day.
Right.
They would never play if the weather is below 60.
I hate these. I even hate dome stadiums. I want to see football out in the elements, right? And I had season tickets in New England for like 12 years, and believe me, there were some bad weather games. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed sitting there. Well, not every time, but mostly I enjoyed sitting there. And it's not the same experience in a dome. It's just antiseptic. I don't like it.
The only thing that bothered me about the game with Miami and Buffalo yesterday is the snowball and the ice ball.
Well, that's not
that bothered me.
Yeah.
I've been in Philadelphia, and they would go ice.
I think there was some Philly fans in the stadium there. So
the good thing is they got technology that can catch these guys today. They'll zoom in, they'll find them, and they'll get
right. Yeah. So Keith, you came in just as we were starting to break down the games, and what a week, what a Saturday of football, and that Minnesota Colt game, biggest comeback in NFL history. That's going to be, that's unbelievable, isn't it?
Is that regular season? Because didn't Buffalo come back from a 35-3 deficit in the playoffs against Houston?
The playoffs. Yeah.
That was 32 points. This was 33.
Yes.
Oh, very good. I can't do math. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
right.
Yeah. That's why he's our historian, guys. He comes, and he's not even looking it up.
That game, it was 35-3, but that was just. I'll tell you, I went to USFL game, the 1983 playoff game, Philadelphia Stars against the Arizona Wranglers. Great talent, a number of NFL players win that game. And the Stars scored 3 touchdowns in the last 10 and a half minutes to send it into overtime. And then they scored a touchdown the first possession in overtime, 4 TDs in a row. But it was so hot that day that you were talking about weather before. The Chicago Blitz wilted in the heat. George Allen coached the Chicago Blitz.
You are the only guy in the country that remembers any of that.
In Philadelphia, when I took the drive there,
that really added to today's show. Thank you, Jack, for bringing that.
Otto was on that team. He was the center for the Stars.
Okay, all right, yeah, I know. We interviewed him. I know. He was the center.
Oh, Pickles is talking about the Houston game. They come back in the Houston game. Yeah. Right.
Okay. So
that's right.
Anyway,
yeah.
We have let's start breaking down these games. You had Buffalo winning 32, Miami scoring 29. Buffalo has now wrapped up the division. Miami's fallen down. I think it's to 8-4, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they're 8-6.
Yes,
8-6, right? 8-6. So they're getting close to that 500 mark.
Patriots tied today.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, Keith? I mean, you're the AFC East guy here.
Really, I've said all along that I thought this was a 3-team race for the last wild card with the Patriots and the Jets and the Chargers. Now the Miami's brought themselves into this race, and the Patriots actually can with a win today, they can control their own destiny. They may end up with a play-in game playing Miami. I think they play them the last week of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
And New England.
In New England, yes, Jack. In New England. So, listen, I think it's wide open. I mean, the schedules are fairly even. I think the Chargers might have the easiest one. The Patriots got a rough road. I mean, they got the Bengals after this week. They got the Bills and they got the Dolphins. But at this point, it's December. You control your own destiny. You got to go out and win games. Doesn't matter who you're playing.
Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller come back this week. They're activated.
Yeah. And the Raiders, the Raiders are a weird team because they played some good football. Almost every game they played some good football, but they find all kinds of ways to blow big leads. So
So now it still remains the same, right? Every AFC East team still has a shot at getting in the playoffs.
Yes, at this moment, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So
I think the Giants honestly have the toughest road.
in the NFC East, yeah, or in the NFC, yes, they do. They got a tough road.
You have to look at the teams to see who's peaked and who's not. It's less about the record to this point as how good they are at this moment. And now you could truly look at the schedule now and look to see who's weak, who's strong. Early in the year, you might look at strength of schedule, and that's taken out of whack. But the LA Rams would have been considered a tough game early in the year. Now they're not considered a tough game. The Packers would have been considered a very tough game. Now, not so much so.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting now with these last couple of weeks because you look at some of the teams in their position. The hottest team right now, believe it or not, is the 49ers.
Yeah.
Playing good.
And they're doing it. I don't know how they do it. They're down to the third quarterback. They're running the ball well. And that's saving them. They got, obviously, offensive, without Debo Sanders, their offense is doing enough to win, and their defense is phenomenal.
That's why coaching is so important in the NFL, right, guys? I mean, he's an unbelievable coach that schemes up running plays. Their defense is unbelievable. He takes a young quarterback, first-year quarterback, and I don't know who the quarterback coach is over there, but makes it really simple for him. Just hit them quick outs and
the quarterback coach is Greasy, Brian Greasy.
Wow.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
A commentator. Yeah, it's Brian Greasy. But what he does is, first of all, those kids play hard.
Yeah.
You got to give them credit. They play extremely hard, but they play as a team. And they got some talent on their defense. Warner, Boza. I mean, I don't know how. And then offensively, you got probably arguably one of the best left tackles in Williams.
Yeah.
And you still got Kittle. You got young players like Ayuk. And I don't even know their running backs' names. But
Christian McCaffrey. He's going to be good.
No, other than Christian McCaffrey.
He's a little brutal. He better stay healthy with Samuel out. I mean, to me, that's the key to that team. Once you get to the playoffs, especially, is he's got to be healthy for them to have a real shot, I think, to make a run. But I think he's supposed to be back by the end of the season, right?
So you think about it right now, if the playoffs started right now, Dallas would go to either Carolina or Tampa Bay. San Francisco would play the next seed. When they play, who would they play? Either Washington or the Giants, right?
Yeah, so they get a.
You can't figure this out, Jim. The Giants aren't going to the playoffs.
I'm just saying at this moment, Jack.
At this moment, a few hours from now. I mean, by
Jack,
tonight, you won't be talking that way.
Jack is just ribbing me again about the Giants when his Jets just stink and his quarterback is the worst quarterback in the league.
That is the game of the day, Zach Wilson's reemergence today.
I think they get whacked today because I don't think that team's going to play for Zach Wilson. I just have this feeling they're not going to step up for him.
You said you're putting down the leadership of Robert Salah. He has full control of that team.
Let me ask you.
I'll be impressed if they win with him today.
This is Keith. I'm asking you this question.
Sure.
Do you really believe that they're not going to play for him?
I believe they won't play as hard as they would have played for Mike White. I'll put it that way. Because the team was totally behind Mike White. We know the disaster that Zach Wilson caused it was only 3 weeks ago. Well, maybe it's a month ago now. But again, they're professionals. You know this better than I do.
Well, the only thing I'm saying is, regardless, they're trying to make it to the playoffs.
No, I get
Now,
it.
Max said that coaching is important. This is where Robert Saleh has got to say, hey, Mike White can't play. We
Agreed.
need to rally around Zach Wilson. We know he has some limitations, but we got to make this work.
Agreed.
And
I
you
think
understand?
I think this will show a lot about Robert Saleh, how they played today.
Because we had this argument with is it Zappy?
Yeah.
Zacka?
Yes.
Thank
we
you
all-
for bringing him up.
Yeah.
Zappy.
We had this argument with the New England Patriots.
we did.
So
Well,
But it's a little different situation, right? I mean, it isn't, because Mac Jones
yes,
didn't go out and make a complete idiot of himself.
Yeah,
I'm sure he was immature.
Jim could vouch for this. There's perception and there's reality. There's a certain perception how the Jet players feel about Zach Wilson, but that might not be reality. I'm sure you experienced that throughout your career. There's a certain perception how you feel about a player. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a name. When Michael Irvin was having his off-the-field issues, there was a perception that, a number of players were fed up with him, and maybe they were. But the feeling within the locker room, a lot of times,
that's a good one. That's a good one, Jack.
But Jim, is that even a fair comparison though? Because Michael Irvin was a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Zach Wilson is not a Hall of Famer, or even close to being a serviceable NFL quarterback yet.
Wait till after today.
Yeah, today they're going to get trounced.
I've backed Zach Wilson a lot against some of the Jet fans who just hate him and want to get rid of him. But he's letting.
Yeah, and I think what happened with Zach Wilson, especially in New York, because of the media, is that he's immature. He came from BYU. Now he's going to one of the biggest stages in the world.
Yeah.
And that's hard. And I don't care how young. There's some like Sauce Gardner. He can handle it because he's a cornerback. And obviously most quarterbacks have short memories. And, but that is a hard place to play.
Well,
when you use the fans, it's hard to get them back. That's
Zach Wilson was 5-2 as a starter. People
I
forget
understand.
that.
Not because of Zach Wilson, though.
But the point, I could say the same thing. Cleveland's 2-1 since Deshaun Watson came back, and we could say not because of Deshaun Watson, because their defense and special teams have been great.
Okay, I'll say that. That's fine.
All right,
I'll
Jack.
agree with you.
Jack, way to segue us into the next game. Cleveland. A lot of people thought Baltimore was going to win this game, but in a tough AFC North game, Cleveland wins 13-3. Baltimore just couldn't get anything going on either. Well, the defense played really well. I got to give them that. Cleveland with Deshaun Watson throwing his first touchdown pass of the season, and that's kind of hard to believe. Chubbs gets running. The defensive end, Myles Garrett, has a couple sacks. So Jim, I mean, it's Cleveland. I think Cleveland is still alive. Baltimore drops 1 seed right now.
Yes.
What did you think about the game?
I think that regardless of how you feel about Deshaun Watson, next year he's going to be what he probably is a franchise-changing quarterback. He has that kind of skills. You got to remember, this guy has been gone for 2 years. He hasn't played in a competitive game. And to come back and do the things that he's doing now, regardless of how you feel about him personally, this guy's got talent, and he might be one of those game changers. We talk about quarterbacks that can change games. Watson might be that, because this is all his preseason right now. And if he could get this team even close to the playoffs, that's amazing, because they've been struggling.
But he better be all-world next year. Kevin Stefanski would be looking for a new job.
But I'm just saying, this guy's got
he's a player.
Unique talent. And he was in Houston when Bill O'Brien was there. I mean, this guy, and I'm like I said, it's not anything about him that his personality and what happened. I'm just telling you about what he does on a football field. I mean,
No, I agree. I've been a big detractor, Jim, and I would not say anything bad about his talent. He's a great player.
You're talking like Watson was just drafted a year ago, and he has all this potential. He's already an elite quarterback. He's just rusty at this point.
That is true.
Yeah, he's going to be one of the top 5 QBs in the league.
I would agree with you. And those guys are hard to find. Those guys are hard to find.
That's the Jets.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I
That's
agree
why
with that.
Cleveland, went out to get him, paid all that money. They knew the controversy it would bring, but they were willing to take that chance.
And I think Deshaun Watson is maybe not a perfect team, but a very good team. He's got a great running game, and he's got a great defense.
Can I just say one thing back about the Ravens-Brown game? It just shows us once again how valuable Lamar Jackson is to the Ravens. They've got to sign him. They absolutely have to.
But here's the problem with that.
For the Ravens.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The problem is if you sign Lamar Jackson to the contract that he wants, you're going to have the problem that the Packers are having and all these teams that sign these guys. The only one who's gotten away with that is Kansas City. I mean, it's hard. You can't pay anybody else.
Lamar Jackson's a character guy. You have to take that into consideration.
Character guy? What did he just get in trouble for, Jack?
A character guy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
I thought you were talking about Watson. My bad.
Yeah, but the problem is how do you get a game-changing receiver if you can't pay him?
Yeah, that's
agreed.
That's a great point. So,
Cleveland's in the same kind of position too. I mean, there's a hard salary cap, and it's not like you can go over and pay a tax like you can in
Exactly. Yes, and that's my point. I mean, Joe Burrows is in a perfect situation because obviously he has Chase and Higgins, but when his next contract comes up, now you got issues. Can you keep all those? Can you keep Chase and Higgins?
Well, they've already had a problem putting an offensive line together because of some of their.
There you go. Yeah.
Very true.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Matt.
That's okay. The last game, the night again. We talked about this earlier. The biggest comeback in NFL history. Minnesota beats Indianapolis, 39-36. Minnesota. I think that makes them the 2 seed, if I'm not mistaken. Correct? Am I right? Or is it
right now? Yes.
Yes, they're 2 seed.
All right.
But, so San Francisco is close to them. I think San Francisco.
4 losses for Niners.
Yeah,
but they're in the NFC, so that won't matter for the Bills. So.
No, we're talking about Minnesota. Right?
Oh, I'm sorry. I misheard you. I'm sorry. I heard Max say last game of the day. I thought
I got confused. That was the first game, Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm not that impressed with Minnesota. It's a great win yesterday, but I also can't forget that this team got behind by 33 points at home to the Colts. So I can't just. It's a great comeback and great win, but there's still they got beat by the Cowboys 40-3 at home, which is one thing, but all behind by 33 points to the Colts.
Guys, you know what was in the news yesterday? And I'm mentioning this because Jeff Saturday's the interim coach. Frank Reich got fired with maybe 3 years or whatever on his contract. The NFL sent out a memo to all these teams, basically telling them don't fire coaches and executives who have years left on their contract because they're wasting so much money. And then it comes back about
$800
million.
million.
Crazy. That's what I said all along. That's why Nathaniel Hackett isn't going to get fired, okay? Because he has a few years left on his deal. You just don't fire guys with a few years left on their deal.
They are, but you got to remember, Hackett, first of all, this new group didn't hire Hackett. The old group did.
Right.
Next thing is, this guy is one of the richest men in the world. Not in the country, in the world. You got to think about that. So if he makes that decision and he eats it, that's a decision. I agree with you. I don't think he will. But you got to remember, this guy is, his resources.
Yeah, Jim, a 1 year, $60 million. He gets $60 million or whatever for 1 year.
Maybe
what do you say about the quarterbacks? Vance Johnson was fired after 1 year there. Mm-hmm. Steve Wilkes was fired in Arizona after 1 year. So it's not unusual for these And how many Matt Rule got 2 years?
2 years.
Matt Rule had like 4 years left on his deal. He had a 7.
No, I'm saying he only got 2 years to change.
Right into the 3rd season.
Yeah, 2+, right?
Yeah. So we'll let's get to some of the NFL news. Trevor Lawrence is questionable, which means he'll play for the Cowboys game. Russell Wilson ruled out against the Patriots. I think the Denver Broncos are probably happy about that, the fans. Let's see. We got Zach Wilson starts versus the Lions, as we've already touched on Zach a little bit. And, of course, the Lions will now beat the heck out of the Jets. Justin Fields, he ran for 1,000 yards. One of the first, let's put it this way. He's one heck of a running quarterback, that's for sure. Tyler Lockett suffers a broken foot. He'll be out for the rest of the season.
He broke his finger.
Yeah.
And let's see, what else do we got? Tom Brady's looking at the Panthers and the Patriots as a possible landing spot for him next year when he becomes a free agent.
Bet you anything you want to bet right now, he'll never suit up in the Patriot uniform again.
I don't think so.
Don't mention that. Whoever puts out that news is just trying to get attention. Don't dignify. Do you think Tom Brady would say to anyone, "Oh, I'm interested in going back to New England and maybe Carolina next season"? I don't know what he's thinking, but he certainly wouldn't say it or share that.
Well, I didn't say he said that, Jack.
Yeah.
I said it was
but who's getting this information? I could put out anything.
Well, that's what happens.
I'm going to put out a rumor right now. The Jets are looking to do an even-up trade with the Niners, Zach Wilson for Trey Lance. I'll put it out there on social media, and it's going to take off.
It might.
But here,
that's
what you guys haven't touched on.
That's what happened with Brady to the Patriots. One blogger who does nothing to do with the team just put this out there unsubstantiated, and it got picked up and it went wild.
Yeah. Here's the one you guys hadn't talked about was what's happening in Arizona. Sean Kugler, who was the offensive line coach who got fired after the Mexico City trip. Now they're saying he's saying it was mistaken identity. And all of a sudden, Steve Ken, the general manager, took time off indefinite for, he said, health reasons. Now, Sean Kugler is saying it was mistaken identity. And when you put a picture of those two next to each other, they look a lot alike. I'm kind of wondering.
Really? I didn't put that together.
Yeah, look at him. And he's going to get
fired anyway.
But let me tell you what bothers me is someone could be completely innocent like that coach, but once he has to sue, he could be the nicest guy in the world. Other teams are reluctant to hire him down the line. They settle with him, and you maybe never recover from that, even though you're 100% innocent, and that's so unfortunate.
That is true.
Now, I remember something. It was probably a movie I watched where there's somebody went through something they were accused of and were found innocent, and at the end of the movie, his final line is, "Who do I see to get my reputation back?" Because that's hard to do.
That is hard to do.
Keith, I don't know what
was the general manager.
I don't know what the heck he's talking about. Something sued something. I have no idea what you just said, Keith. You're normally more on the ball than that. I don't know.
It was a very perfect segue from what they were talking about to when you're accused of something falsely and found innocent. It's hard to get your reputation back.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's where the something came from. Okay. All right. I got you.
I didn't say something. Everything.
I love this show. I do
too. So, Jim? What did you think about the Ravens' backup quarterback? I mean, he had a lot of problems, of course.
Tyler Huntley.
Tyler Huntley. I thought he did struggle, and Jack alluded to having Lamar Jackson. It's just, did you pay him that much money because of injuries? He's starting to. We always talk about that. Those quarterbacks that are mobile but run it too much, this is what happens because they get hit a lot. I worry about that with Josh Allen.
Yep.
Good
morning, Robert.
Morning, guys.
All right, we got Robert and Keith together for probably 5 minutes here. I think
you got me for 5 seconds.
There you go. Keith, say hi to Robert. There you go.
Hey, Keith.
Robert. Well, get Robert to pop in at 8:20. Then we get 10 minutes together.
He's still in
All
the
right, we'll work on that.
All right,
work on
guys.
that, Keith. You have a great
All
day,
right,
everybody. Check out
Matt,
TGI Sports.
Are we doing a show next Sunday or not?
Saturday.
Doing it
We're moving it to Saturday. Keith.
Sunday's show is Saturday because the NFL has a whole bunch of games on Saturday.
Okay,
So
so
all get scheduled Saturday,
All right,
the
Keith.
day before Christmas Day.
There you go,
the
Keith.
big
We let
game.
Keith go.
Big game.
Yes,
You got to
yes.
announce that, Matt, for the listeners. They're not going to tune in Saturday. They're going to think it's a debate show, and they're going to be
I think we already did announce that on the other show, Jack. So
Yeah, but today, for who's watching now?
well, you just announced it for us, Jack. Thank you. So good morning, Robert. How you
Hey,
doing?
good morning, guys. I'll note that for Saturday. You got it.
Yes, Robert Butler from Sportscope, one of the best shows on our network. So tune in to watch Robert do his thing. Robert, of course, we're talking about. We've already talked about last night's game. I get your opinion on some of them, and I know in fantasy football that you go basically off the stats, right? So
Yeah.
if Matt Ryan was your quarterback for fantasy football, you would have got a lot of points for him. Am I correct?
Yeah. It's sometimes you can lose in a losing effort. You can have a good fantasy day. You know, you could pick a team that it's just one particular matchup is really good, but everything else is not good. And, that one running back can have, like the Titans, Derrick Henry has a lot of good weeks. The Titans, their pass defense is not really good, but that doesn't mean he doesn't get 34 fantasy points.
Yeah. I got 35 points for Josh Allen this week.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great to have a dual threat quarterback.
Yes.
Yeah, it definitely is. Definitely is. So let's talk a little bit about fantasy football and play them or sit them coming up here on these games, Robert. So if I'm looking at the games, I have like Pittsburgh against Carolina. I don't know who you would play in a game like that. I mean, would you play a Sam Darnold? Would you play one of their big running backs? Maybe their defense? What would you look at there, Robert?
I'd probably look at the Pittsburgh defense. Sam Darnold usually has a tendency to turn the ball over a lot. He's not as mobile as some of the other quarterbacks that are playing.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
interesting because I was thinking Carolina in the situation they're in right now.
Yeah.
That's a must win, and Steve Wilkes is doing a really good job.
Yeah, they could still win, but he could still have 2 or 3 turnovers and one go for a touchdown, and he gets TJ Watt. He's a difference maker, man. Him and Fitzpatrick there, Mika. That is a good 4-back type of combo.
But how healthy is TJ Watts? Because he hasn't heard a lot about him this year.
Yeah. Well, how healthy is anybody this time of year?
You're right.
You read the injury reports, Jim. It's crazy.
You're right. You're right. You got a good point there, Robert.
Yeah.
Jim had the right idea. Jim was rarely injured in his 15-year career, but Jim did it the right way. These other guys would go 100% and get hurt. Jim went 90%. And he didn't he held back just enough to stay in the game and be effective and help his team. Kudos to Jim.
I knew Jack had something. Jack is putting me back down. I don't know what Jack's problem is. It's the road. It's the sun from Miami.
Yeah. It's got to be. It's got to.
Wow.
And you notice his background there. It looks like he's outside, but he's not.
Yeah, Tampa somewhere.
Yeah.
So impressive background there, Jack. There you go. So Dallas at the Jags, I would imagine. Excuse me. I would imagine maybe Dak Prescott or maybe even Trevor Lawrence for the Jags. I don't know. If you count sacks in your league, but if you did, you'd probably be looking at some of the linemen on Dallas, and of course, Micah Parsons. So who you played and who you sitting in there?
That Dallas defense and most of these daily fantasy, they're the most expensive defense on the daily, where you go by salary. They got a really good matchup there. The Dallas defense, we don't know how healthy, although he looked great last week, Trevor Lawrence is. Dallas has got a really good pass rush. It travels well. I like that. And, of course, I like those wide receivers for Dallas, too. C.D. Lamb, Michael Gallup, even Dalton Schultz. He's got a really good matchup there at the middle there with tight end.
Now, Robert, Jacksonville's defense has only got 23 sacks for the whole year.
Yeah.
And they played good, but like you said, I agree with you. Dallas has got weapons, obviously, with Pollard and Elliott. Yeah. They also, those receivers, they might have a good week this week.
Yeah, they're going to have to throw more on the road. Typically, quarterbacks throw the ball more on the road anyways. This is an ongoing stat there. I looked at – plus Trayvon Walker, their number one pick, he's going to come down probably to a game-time decision.
Yeah, because
Josh Allen is good, their pass rusher on the other side, but when you got them both together, you saw what happened. They caused a lot of turnovers with Tennessee.
That is exactly right.
Yeah.
But Dallas is a different team than Tennessee.
Yeah.
Because
they've got a much better line. You've got your left tackle back.
Smith. Yeah.
Tyron. Yeah.
But they're moving him to right tackle.
Because the Steele's out for the year. Yeah. That's really a big hit, but lucky for you, man.
Robert, you're on top of everything. Look at you moving left to right. Jim just feeding you, setting you up so you can just them soft pitches.
Man,
Philadelphia at Chicago, Robert. I mean,
for info, Rob. Jim is just underhand pitching.
Yeah, he's just serving up. He's just
we're texting each other.
I just read.
Yeah,
I study the injury report like it's somebody's doctor report. Like I'm looking at.
You're on Jimmy the Greek Snyder here.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
I was his understudy at 3.
Oh my!
You're better than looking at Jimmy the Greek, Robert. Let's be honest.
Yeah, no question.
I wish I had his money though, right?
Yeah, that's
pretty good.
Yes. Philadelphia at Chicago. Philadelphia has already wrapped up everything, for God's sake. Chicago ain't going nowhere this year. But as far as fantasy football goes, I would imagine that the Chicago quarterback, Justin Fields, would be a big pick, as well as some of the receivers for Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, Miles Sanders got a really good matchup again. He had a good one last week. Chicago's 28th against the run. Now, here's the thing about Chicago. Teams with these late buys, they're going to come out like a house of fire against Philadelphia. I expect Justin Fields to maybe have a rushing touchdown, maybe 2 today. They're going to come guns a-blazing. And Jalen Hurts, since Chicago's susceptible against the run, I think Jalen Hurts will have a rushing touchdown as well. I think that'll be a really good game. Philadelphia will probably win it, but Chicago may keep it within that point spread. And it's because of they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. This is a very late bye. I don't believe in having these buys too early or too late. And but when you got a team on the road, this team don't have much to lose. That's going to be an interesting game.
Robert?
I think there's a very good chance they can cover coming off a bye week at home like that.
Yeah, but isn't it in Chicago?
It's in Chicago, yeah. And they're 9-point underdogs, Jim.
Oh, yeah. Because that's what's I think that's to the advantage of Chicago. I'm not saying they're going to win.
Yes. Yeah, Chicago may give them a game for that. They have nothing to lose. They're home off a bye week.
Since he at Tampa Bay, as far as fantasy football goes, I would imagine you're going to take Burrows and maybe Chase. They got a great running back there that you could take a look at too.
2 of them.
Vita Vita's out. Their best run stopper for he's for Tampa.
Yes,
their defensive tackle. So yes, Joe Mixon, good play there. Cornerback injuries for Tampa, cornerback injuries, and Trey Henderson, their best pass rushers, out for Cincinnati. Guys, this is not just a great game for Tampa. I think this is going to be one of the games of the week because they're both fighting to win their divisions.
Yes. And Henderson broke his hand, correct?
Yeah, he broke his wrist, but he played through it last week, but he's already been ruled out, Jim, this week.
Yeah, because you're gonna have to wear that cast.
Yeah.
So let's go to what I think is the game of the week anyway, of course. The New York Giants, guys.
I'm always afraid to
York...
say anything bad about the Giants. Mac might not have me back on.
I might mute you anyway. So the Giants are at Washington. I would imagine that Saquon Barkley would be a play. I don't know if any receivers would be a play for him. I heard. And Washington, their quarterback's been playing well too, and they got a pretty good receiver there in McClure. So who you playing and who you sitting?
Yeah. Giants have Adoree Jackson's going to be out in this game. But you know who I like the best if Leonard Williams don't play? But even if Leonard Williams does play a defensive tackle, Washington's another one of those teams off of bye week. Brian Robertson at home, rookie out of Alabama, man. I think he's going to have a really good game. I think he'll probably have the best fantasy game, especially if Williams don't play. I think he's another game time decision, guys. You seen that lack of not having him there last week, Jim, with Miles Sanders had 28 fantasy points against the Giants.
Yeah,
I like Washington home. Of course, Giants are really well coached. I don't know who's starting at receiver, whether it's Richie James or Slayton, one of those leading wide receivers that's considered the air quote one. You could beat their corners for Washington, actually. I actually like the wide receiver matchup better than I like the running back matchup as far as the Giants offense is concerned.
Who do you think is most likely to make a playoff run, Washington or New York right now?
I mean, it's got to be Washington. Oh, by the way, Chase Young's supposed to make his debut.
Oh, really?
Back at defensive end there. Holcomb is a gamer, man. The players seem to buy into him. I know he's not the most talented guy in the world at quarterback, but, they've got a lot of weapons, guys. With Washington, they've flown under the radar because they're in a very competitive division with Dallas and Philly. People have overlooked them. Ron Rivera's won Coach of the Year twice. Mm-hmm. And that would be interesting. And plus, both of these teams are technically in the playoffs if the playoffs started today. So it's a huge game, guys.
Yeah, but won't one get knocked out?
Yes, that's why I think it's huge. Yeah,
that's why it's so huge. That might be the game of the day.
I think so. It is. Between that one and Cincinnati.
I don't know if you say they'll get knocked out because there's still a few games to play and there's
still 3 games to go technically
that could lose. So,
logically speaking, this is the most winnable game for both teams. If you look at the rest of their schedule, I think it's the most winnable game.
They tied last game, guys.
Yeah.
2020.
Like kissing your sister.
I mean, why do we got ties? Yeah, that is the old adage, right, Jim?
Oh my God!
I mean, you kiss the girl, but you're her sister. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
Jim throwing in some crazy stuff there.
Old school, yeah.
That's been around for years. The tie is like
the old adage, yeah.
Mac, you're anti-New York Jets, but you better root for them to win because if the Detroit Lions win, they're going to be right on the Giants' heels. That means they're probably half the Lions in the standings.
Guys,
if you want to hold off the Lions as a wild card team, you better root for the Jets today.
And guys, speaking of the Jets, I didn't tell anybody today, Jetman, but we got the infamous Jetman coming in today for today's show.
Oh my God. Look at that.
Man, Mac is only having you on to rub it in after 2 losses in a row. That's the only reason he's having you on. If he gets won the last 2, Mac wouldn't have had you on.
Oh, please, Jack.
Morning, guys. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, Jetman.
Happy holidays.
So it's been a little rough, the last 2 and 4 of the last 6 weeks. And it's kind of maddening that of those 4 games, the 2 against the Patriots, the Bills, and the Vikings.
Yeah.
They should have split. I mean, they should have won 2 of those 4 games.
Well, Jetman, I mean, listen, you're having a great year. You're still alive for the playoffs. I mean, I know you got Zach Wilson starting, so that's that's one of the bad things about this week. But I mean, what do you think about the Jets season? You got to be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely happy. You know, it's just when you take such strides and the team looks overall so good, and Zach Wilson hasn't come along the way that everyone has wanted him to. And it doesn't mean that he's not the guy or he won't be the guy. But they've made such progress. They look so good. They're right in these games. They're right on the cusp. So it is really frustrating. It's some of these games I've been really down them losing. I mean, going into Buffalo on the road, revenge in Allen's eyes, and they played toe to toe with the Bills. But after the end of the game, it was maddening. I was really frustrated. But like you said, overall, they've come along. It's just right now accelerating with Mike White being hurt. Now Wilson's got to step up, and if he doesn't, this could be it for him. And it kind of speeds the whole thing up. If he poops the bed today, Jet Nation might not want to give him a second chance.
Well, he's got to get his teammates' confidence back first.
Right.
That's what I was going to say.
Their confidence.
This game is so big because if you look at the Jets' schedule, the 3 games after today, they play at Jacksonville, Seattle, and then Miami. Okay, and 2 of those games, Jacksonville and Seattle, are very winnable games. So if they beat the Lions today, I think the Jets are going to the playoffs. If they lose to the Lions, they're in a tough spot, especially closing out playing Miami.
Definitely. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, they really need to – today is pivotal. I mean, they have to win 3 of 4, but losing today, we start to spiral. The confidence, the swagger, everything. Everything is in the balance today. I think it's great. We're home.
What happens if Zach Wilson plays, guys? All of you could answer this really well today, and Mike White's healthy next week. I don't think they go back to Mike White. I think Zach Wilson's their franchise quarterback. They move forward Zach Wilson if he plays well today and the Jets win.
I agree. And, I was at a Christmas party talking to a whole bunch of friends about it Friday night. And, we were back and forth. We kind of agreed if he has a stellar game that he should continue as a starter. But if he's mediocre and the Jets win because of their defense and their rushing game, it should be Mike White next week. I mean, on a short week, unless Zach Wilson lights it up and throws 300+ yards, 3 touchdowns. But if he's average, if he's done what he did when they went 5-2, with him at the helm, he shouldn't get the start next week.
Yeah,
Jetman, wait a minute, Jetman. I got to get Pickles' comment in here. The Namath jacket, which you're wearing. I just hope you're not wearing the pantyhose too. Don't tell me you're doing that, Namath for wearing the pantyhose. All right. Oh well, he's got something going on over there. So
I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna go back to football.
Okay. All right. Jim trying to keep us on the straight and narrow. Thanks, Jim. So, I mean, the Jets schedule, I'm not too sure. I haven't checked it out. I know Jack probably knows what the schedule is. But, Jack, is that schedule pretty tough or is it easy? Or
Yeah. No, let me repeat that. Play Jacksonville, Seattle, and Miami after today. They were in with Detroit. They're 7-6. If they beat Detroit, they'll be 8-6. And between Jacksonville, Seattle, and Miami, you'd think they'd win 2 of the next 3, finish up at 10-7, and sneak into the playoffs. Okay, that's why today's pivotal. If they lose, as Jetman was saying, they're 7-7, winning 3 in a row. That's going to be hard. It's still doable, but today is so big.
Right. Okay. All right. So
Listen,
So,
Jacksonville is playing for something because the Tennessee Titans in a free fall, and the Jaguars only 2 games behind.
Yeah.
And Jacksonville might actually win that division. Personally, I doubt that Tennessee's going to win another game. That's how bad they've been.
Well, they've got some players coming back, Jack. But even if they do, they'll probably be one and done in the playoffs.
I mean,
Maybe they win one more game.
Yeah.
Robert, they started out fast and
Yeah.
really have crumpled. I mean, what's the answer over there? Do you think they're going to get rid of Tannehill, or are they going to make Wilson the starting quarterback next? What do you see on the horizon there for Tennessee?
You mean Malik Willis?
Malik Willis. I think it's probably more defensively than anything, and offensively, Burks has had the concussion. It's really the offensive line. I'm surprised that they're getting the rushing yards that they are. They're going to have to redo the whole offensive line. That's the biggest issue. And then, that's, you're talking 4 or 5 positions there. That's the biggest issue. They still owe Tannehill some money. They may be able to deal Tannehill to somebody. And, Tom Brady's going to be a free agent. Maybe they go after him next year. Teams like the 49ers and Miami have been talked about, possible destinations, but he does have a relationship with Vrabel. I'm not a fan of him. I'm just telling you what's out there.
Yeah, I hear you. For those of you who don't know, Jetman has the other Jetman that he's been going at for quite a while now. Oh my God! I've seen some posts out there, Jetman. What's going on now? What's the update?
It's just it's kind of silly, the whole thing. I don't need to be the mascot or the face of the team by any means. For years, Fireman Ed and his brother would lead chants. Jetman and Catboy, who was my sidekick, would lead chants, equally. And, he kind of got more of the glory, which is fine. Fanatics are fanatics.
Right.
I don't need the recognition. I just need the name. I created Jetman. I am Jetman. I've been Jetman for 35 years. Pick another name. There's dozens of guys throughout the NFL for every team. For the Jets, there's Mike Hulky Hands. There's Boba Jet. There's Captain Jet. There's a whole bunch of guys. Wears beads.
On that, Jetman, Jack has a little thing he uses. He calls himself Boxer Jetman. He's Boxer Jet.
But it's an original name. You know what I mean? Be an original. That's all I'm looking for from everyone. Be original.
Jetman, we never asked you your style. Did you harass players? Do you harass them the way Pax does? A Philly sports guy. He specializes in harassing the opposition.
Oh yes, I mean in a playful way. I mean, I feel like I've made field goal kickers miss. Screaming at them.
You don't pick on field goal kickers. Those little guys. That's messed up, Jetman.
When I'm in the first, second row, I'm literally just on them, saying their name over and over, screaming it continuously in their head. When the timeout, and they come back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like
rating them.
Like that.
Whatever I can.
I'm gonna tell you a little secret, Jetman, from experience. At the end of each practice, they usually start screaming and cussing at the kickers so they could focus. So I'm sure that wasn't the issue.
As long as he feels part of the game, who are we to argue with him, Jim? You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yes.
Justin Tucker, they must be really on him.
Yeah. That's right. So, Jetman, are you going to the game today?
Unfortunately, I'm not today because I'm in a my position. I work in a retail position. I'm working from home today, but I have to be online, so I can't be at the game. And this is the biggest game of the year. I mean, this is a tough one not to go to.
Detroit is no joke either.
Yeah. Why couldn't you get somebody to fill in for you, Jetman? Why didn't you get somebody to fill in for you? What's going on?
I'm in a position where I can't. Unfortunately, I'm a little higher up that I have to work. So I'll be there in spirit. I have a bunch of friends that are at the game, and I'll be watching it. I won't miss a play, regardless of not being there. But try to be at the home finale Thursday night, and then if we make the playoffs, I look to travel with the team wherever they make go, home, away, etc.
Very good, Jetman. I know you got to get going. I know Robert's going to get going here in a little while, but I just want to ask you about Catboy. What is that? You said this guy Catboy was a sidekick.
It's Cap, CAP.
Oh,
so originally,
right.
It did sound like Cat, yeah.
Back in the late 80s,
Right.
We each wore JETS, 4 swim caps on our heads.
Okay.
And Catboy created these caps. He bought them. He sewed the labels on them, each letter. And we would go to the games shirtless with the caps and do chants. And then, in homage and respect to him, he got named Catboy, and I was Jetman. So, that's kind of the history. That's how it started. And then he and I, for 12 seasons, had season tickets and would go to each and every game. And then Catboy kind of, hung up the cap, and I continued, but somewhat as a Clark Kent. I would go to games with jerseys, occasionally with the full outfit, but always supporting the team. My whole beef is just be a different name. Don't take over. This fraud was in my section for 2 years watching.
You had some guy, Jetman, you had some people who stole names from, I shouldn't say steal, they got the rights to names of NFL players. Like, I know there was a dispute with Warren Sapp years ago. Someone got his name and they could legally, use it. So he used another thing like 99, his number instead, right. But it's not as good. But I agree with you. I mean, taking a name that someone has used a while, the only lesson to be learned, if you have a name you really want bad enough, try to get it copyrighted.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I have videos. I have stuff, Jets annual tapes with videos of us for 15 years before this copycat started using it. So I may have to, look into that, reach out to the Jets. I may reach out to different media sources if anyone cares. The most thing that I care about is the Jets and them winning. This is kind of secondary, but I just don't. If I started calling myself someone else, if I started calling myself Tom Brady and I'm going to my local bars and they say, "Oh, that guy Tom Brady, he's real," he's not. You know what I mean? It's just not right. It's just not.
Did you guys know there was so much stuff involved with becoming, a Jetman or some kind of?
No one would think there's so much stress, but
no, there's a lot of stuff going on, patents and copyrights.
Guys, the Jets season is such a quick turnaround because they play Thursday night against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm kind of hoping the Cowboys maybe put a beating on the Jaguars today that they don't recover from by Thursday. Okay. But the whole season, basically, if the Jets lose these next 2 games, they're not making the playoffs. The season's done. Even if they win the last 2, it's doubtful that they'll make it. Very slim chance.
But if Detroit wins, Jack, they're in a position to make the playoffs. Did you know that?
Oh, I know. Detroit's on a great run, and the Giants have to be looking over their shoulder. The Giants desperately need to win another game, and this is their best chance today. Giants back in. They could lose 3 of the last 4, maybe back in, because the Jets play Seattle too. The Jets are going to have a big effect on the Giants' season, especially if the Giants only win 1 more game. Yeah. Because they're playing Seattle and the Lions, the 2 teams that are coming up the rear behind the Giants. So if the Jets beat both those teams, it has to be a difference.
Robert.
Yes.
Robert. Okay, so we're going to play fantasy mascot or whatever you want to call it here. So would you play or sit Jetman? Not this game because he's not going to be there. You have to sit him. So would you play him the next game? or would you take the copyright, the traitor, the fake Jetman, because he will be at the next game? Who's your fantasy pick?
Well, I'll have to see what the traitor looks like. No, we got to go with the Ready to Rumble.
Original.
Remember the guy, what's his name? Buffer?
Michael Butler.
Michael, but he trademarked Ready to Rumble, guys. So
Yeah.
that's not too far fetched, Jetman.
Right. True.
Yeah.
And in the defense, in defense of the enemy, he's not a traitor. He's a Jet fan, and I
Or just trademark.
I respect his loyalty and his passion. It's not that, I'm not, I wouldn't boo him, but
Right.
give me a break. Give me a break.
Right.
Pick another
I
name.
got you.
Right.
I
That's
got
it.
you.
That's the
I
bottom
got
line.
you. So
Anyway.
I'll let Jetman and Robert leave. Everybody check out the Jetman. He's on Facebook. He has a pretty good following, and of course, check out our one of our best guests, most knowledgeable guests that come on Sunday Football, the Big Football Show, Robert Butler and Sportscope. Guys, you have a great Sunday, and I hope your team wins.
Thank you for coming, Robert.
Have a good show, guys. Good
Okay,
luck.
Rob.
See you guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Take care, Jetman. All right, so we go from one. Jetman, there's a Philly sports guy. There he is.
Yeah, baby.
What's going on? What's going on?
There you go.
Intimidate.
All right, guys. So we got the. Go ahead.
I just want to say something. You look at the way Pags looks in the Jetman. Jetman looks great. I love him. But Pags does look a bit more intimidating.
Yeah,
Like
he
if I
does.
Pags coming to the Meadowlands causes Jetman going to Philly. But I love the Jetman.
Yeah. So we had him on, Pags. We had Jetman on, and boy, he's a lot of fun. Not that you're not. I'm not trying to replace you, Pags. So anyway.
I tell you, listen. If you could find a replacement for me, God bless you.
Yes. I agree. Pags, I want to get your thoughts on yesterday's games. Boy, that's one of the best football Saturdays I've seen in a long time, Pags.
Was that good football? I don't know. Watching that Vikings game, obviously it was a tale of two halves, but I can't call that good football. That was crap. Jim, what did you think about that?
That's what the NFL is today.
Crap. It is crap. I tell you, it was the epitome of this season. I think that the NFL is weak across the board. The fact that the Vikings gave up that many points, and the fact that, first off, when they went for that field goal, when the Colts went for that field goal in the second half, I was like, that's a bad idea. That's going to come back to haunt them. And it did, of course. And then it was like, it was like almost like that. I hate to think that the NFL's ever scripted. I don't believe in that stuff. But, they made that first down on the 4th and 1. And then next thing you know, the Minnesota's got the ball. How is that even possible? That product for the first game was terrible. Now, the Buffalo Dolphins game, much better game.
Yeah, but
Much
the problem
better
is what you're seeing in college is filtering over into the NFL because it's not really good football in college either. Other than them, they played good football, but the other teams, Alabama did, but for the most part, teams are not playing good football, and that's because of the offensive styles that most teams are playing.
Right, and that's what I think. I feel like that this has been just bad football all the way around. I've been saying it all year long that I think that the NFL is soft this year. I feel that that's why the Eagles could win out. As long as they don't lose focus, they can win every game. And you can definitely see the difference between the teams that are very good and the teams that aren't very good. I think that Miami is a pretty good team. I feel like Buffalo is a pretty good team. I feel that the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Chiefs. I can't put the Vikings in that. I can't put the Vikings in that mix.
The 49ers are a pretty good team because of
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. The Vikings are a pretty good team. The Giants ain't there yet.
No,
They ain't there yet.
I agree with that. I mean, we were just talking. Could you imagine if the Giants had some of those Minnesota receivers, or at least one of them? I mean, how much better would they be?
Well, they could have Jalen Reagor. It wouldn't make a difference.
Guys, don't forget, Aaron Rodgers could still run the table.
And still not make the playoffs.
Is Jack with us? Did the son get Jack again?
I don't know what Jack's talking. He just loves Aaron Rodgers.
I'm thinking of dark horses that aren't mentioned at all. We don't even talk about maybe like the Chargers. They get in the playoffs, could cause damage. It's happened before.
Yeah, I ain't trusting the Chargers yet either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that the product of that first game, like I said, watching that Vikings game, I mean, it was great for the drama of it, I guess, but it was just poor football. Poor decision making by Saturday, poor coaching in the first half by the Vikings in general. It was just horrible.
What do you expect? Saturday has no experience in there, and he does have veteran coaches. I agree. But he's making decisions, and people are telling him to make these decisions. And to put that guy in that situation is terrible by the owner. He gets what he deserves. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I got to figure that they put him in that position because they don't want to tank, but they want to get a better draft pick. That's their goal.
Players never tank.
No, I didn't say that they want to tank. I say that's what I'm saying. I don't think that they want to tank, but they can put. When you send somebody out to the Wolves who ain't ready yet, when you send him out to the Wolves with a little toothpick, he ain't going to win. You know what I mean? He ain't got a spear. He's got a toothpick. He ain't going to win many games.
Going into yesterday, Indianapolis had an outside chance of winning the division, meaning if Tennessee lost today, they'd be a game and a half behind. They were playing, there were still playoff implications for them. They wanted to win that game pretty badly.
Well, and then what would have happened if they had two ties?
I don't know what the tiebreaker would have been.
No.
Yeah, that'd have been weird. Excuse me.
So, Pags, you're there in Chicago? I see.
Yes, I am. I'm on a rooftop bar. If I could, I'll try to get over here a little bit. You can kind of see Soldier Field behind me.
Okay.
There's Soldier Field. So it's a balmy 18 degrees. Real field is 12 degrees. So I'm all ready to go. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play.
All right. So you're not wearing a jacket or anything. You're not going to destroy your uniform while you're out there.
Hey, listen, I have enough layers on that I should be okay.
All right. Good. So I mean, listen, Philadelphia should win this game. Chicago should give you a good game. And you're going to have to be worried a little bit about Phil. But I think in the end, you guys win that game.
Yeah, I think that Chicago can't score as many points as we can. And I think that the defense isn't going to be so crazy. I think it's going to be like a 31-17 game, a 31-10 game. It's not going to be close.
Could this be a trap game maybe for the Eagles? Jim referred to those type of games earlier. Yeah. You're not expected to win. Even you seem complacent. What about the players? I have a sense that you're complacent for this game.
Yeah.
You're laid back. You're confident as a W already, and you're looking ahead to Dallas.
Jack is right.
Don't deny it.
It doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the guys on the field think. and they're ready to go.
Goes all over the building the same way.
Yeah.
So all of that talk, and like I said, it don't matter what comes from me. It matters what comes from the guys on the field. With everything that just happened with the Micah Parsons situation, where he went ahead and talked about how Hurts isn't the MVP and all this other stuff, and trying to get them riled up, and they were like, it's not the Chicago Micah Parsons, it's the Chicago Bears that we're worried about. And we'll worry about Micah Parsons next week.
Look at
Listen,
Pickles.
There you go.
I agree with that. I mean, I don't know what Micah Parsons was trying to do, but you got a game against Jacksonville in Jacksonville this week. And just like you guys have mentioned, Jacksonville's could still win that division.
Right.
And I think the Cowboys are going to get after them, but you worry about who you play this week.
That's right.
That's all you got to worry about.
Well, and that's what I kind of think. I kind of think that, and I know what Micah Parsons was trying to do. He was trying to stir the pot a little bit, try to get somebody off their game. He was doing exactly the same thing that I tried to do. I try to get into somebody's head, get them thinking about something different than what's in front of them. And that's kind of what he did. It was some gamesmanship.
Pags, you don't look like you're gonna.
Just made a remark. They asked him a question, Micah Parsons. I don't think
Micah Parsons is the one that asked the question. He didn't ask Micah Parsons the questions. He was the one that asked the question.
Pags, I'm really concerned about the Eagles, and especially with the way you're acting right now. I mean, you're laying back there. You're not excited. You're normally. Jack, am I wrong, Jack? Jack, am I wrong? He's normally like go birds and all this stuff. And right now,
don't worry, I'm still. It's only 8:00 in the morning here. It's 8:00 in the morning here. The bars are open till 5 a.m. here. What do you think? You think I stayed home just waiting for today to happen? No, it takes me a little bit to get moving and get shaking here. I mean, it's okay. Listen, I can get all fired up for you, but it don't matter if I get fired up for you. It don't matter if I get fired up to you, because you saw what happened last week when we get fired up. We smacked the Giants around. The Giants better figure out what they're doing if they want to make it into the playoffs.
We're not talking about the Giants right now. We're talking about you.
We know because the Giants went out like a lamb. They went out crying like little girls. There was nobody left in the stadium in the fourth quarter.
There you go. Pags has finally got fired up, Jack. We got him to get fired up.
I am just saying, I get the feeling the Eagles are going to have to rally late to win this game when a loss is staring them in the face, because I think complacency is set in with that team. Now, I can tell through Pags. Pags is my conduit.
Yeah, if I'm the conduit, then you better run different lines. Because trust me, like I said, I got my ear to the ground. They're pretty focused. Yeah, they know exactly what it is that they're up against. And
anything the Bears sold off their players early in the year.
Right.
Players.
So and you have a quarterback who's got no weapons and some legs.
Hey Jack, I think Jetman was more excited about today's game than Pags.
Yeah, Pags just isn't excited. Pags is flooding. He's down for the social aspect.
All right. Listen, Jack, we bugged him enough.
Okay, enough.
Yeah, enough with Pags. So let's talk a little bit about the standings. Guys, of course, the NFC East, the Eagles are in first, playing great ball. Dallas at 10-3, Washington at 7-5-1, and the New York Giants at 7-5-1. Jim, Dallas is Dallas going to do well in the playoff?
Will Dallas do? They'll be better than they have in the past.
Well, they better, because they're going to be playing against a team that's not going to have a winning record and win a division. Whether it's Tampa, Carolina, Atlanta, it won't matter. They better win that game, because if they don't win that game, you know how bad it's going to be for that star.
Well,
I mean, there's going to be heads that roll.
He couldn't coach, but he's 10-3.
No, you're right. You're right. And he's 10-3.
Right.
Yeah, the defense is playing pretty well.
It's okay. It's okay. But the thing is when you're playing these types of the problem is that you play down to their level instead of up to your level. When you play the better teams, you get fired up for it. And that's the truth. That's the truth. The Jacksonvilles of the world, obviously the Indianapolises of the world, and even the Houston Texans. You're trying to get through those games to get to the big games.
But Jim, in all fairness, if the Kansas City Chiefs are playing the Texans, maybe they don't run over them, but it doesn't come down to them pulling it out all the way at the end. The powerhouse team.
But the point is they get it done. They get it done. And that's what you got to do. You got to win the game.
You can only play who's in front of you. You can only play who's in front of you. So, here's my question for you, Jim, because I am going to look a little bit ahead here. How much does the holiday figure into preparation when it comes to stuff like this? Like it's Christmas Eve they're playing on. They'll be home for Christmas, so I can't imagine that that's a big deal. But does it affect anything in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, it does affect you because you're thinking about the next day is Christmas. I mean, it's especially if you have children. As soon as the game's over, obviously you're going to go home and get your things prepared for Christmas. You'll have obviously the presents out under the Christmas tree, and you're looking forward to seeing people open presents on Christmas Day. It affects you because you got to focus in and make sure get your job done. And especially, this is probably honestly one of the biggest games of the year for the Cowboys, and they know that. So their preparation has got to be good, and they got one day less to prepare for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder. I wonder what it's like when it's, like I said, they're going to be home for Christmas. I mean, I do all my Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve, so I got to do it a day early because I'm not going to be able to do it Christmas Eve because I'm going to be busy on Christmas Eve now. So
yeah.
And it's obviously I'm assuming that they're going to have all their Christmas shopping done already. Because I mean, if I had that type of money, I would have already sent somebody out to do it for me. You know what I mean? Because
and I remember playing Tennessee.
Now,
when I was coaching, we played Tennessee on Christmas, and that was the worst. That was the worst.
And Jack brings up a good point. A lot of shopping's done online now, so it's not like you got to run out to the store and do all that stuff. So let's get back to the standings here real quick. We got in the West Division, San Fran 10-4, Seattle 7-7, Arizona 4-9, and the Rams. So guys, I think we all think anyway, or we're projecting that San Francisco is going to end up playing the Eagles in that championship game. Jack, who would you give the edge to in that? And we still got to pick our playoff. We still got to do our playoff picks. We haven't done that yet, guys.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
I know how great the Niner defense is. I would rate them the number one defense in the NFL at this moment. But it's hard for me to imagine Brock Purdy going into Philadelphia and beating the Eagles there. You need a little more than just a game manager, and so right now, Philadelphia really is the favorites to come out of the NFC East. I wouldn't discount the Dallas Cowboys. I really wouldn't. I think they represent a very serious threat, more of a threat than the Minnesota Vikings actually do to the Eagles.
Nah, Dallas get knocked out in the first round. Jim.
Dallas won't get knocked out the first round.
No, I'm just kidding.
But their difficulties is how this is structured. If somebody doesn't beat the next team, then Dallas has got to go to Philly the second round.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. and that's a little bit more difficult. If somebody unexpectedly loses, then Dallas has got to go to either San Francisco or Minnesota. Minnesota would be the second seed. So
Right.
that's how it would work. So
Guys, I really think that Dallas is maybe, I'm not going to say the weakest team in the playoffs. And Jack, Jim, I'm not trying to put them down. I think that, if you put them up against San Francisco, Philadelphia, even Minnesota to a point, I don't think they can beat those teams. I really don't.
They beat Minnesota 30.
Yeah, early they did.
You saw what happened in Minnesota yesterday.
Yeah,
I hope we get the matchup with Minnesota.
Yeah,
I think that Minnesota's soft. I think that the problem is that there's a better chance that the Giants or Washington could beat Minnesota, and then Dallas would wind up having to go to San Francisco, and that would be a very interesting matchup to see who wins that game. Because I think the Giants. I think that the Vikings are primed for a complete letdown in the first round of the playoffs.
And
they're primed for it.
Kirk Cousins, you can say what you want, but he is not the one. Kirk Cousins is just a guy. They have some people in Dalvin Cook. They have it in Justin Jefferson. But Kirk Cousins.
Let me ask Mac a question. Mac, who hates who more? Do I hate Thibodeau more? Does Jeff Cohen hate Cousins more? Who hates who more? I mean, come on. The guy just led the greatest comeback statistically in history, and Jim is crashing him the next day.
Or did it?
Yeah, but he's still a quarterback, Joe. He's still a quarterback. I mean, you got to give him credit for that. Come on, biggest comeback in NFL history. I mean, that's pretty bad if you don't give him.
They won because the little kid was walking around there with the chains on.
Okay, I don't know. I didn't
see
that.
The Eagles are sitting nicely, but listen, they still got to close things out for home field advantage. Because let's say they lose today. They have teams.
They're not going to lose today.
I'm just saying, if they lose today, all of a sudden they have their work cut out for them to be sure they get home field.
No, I mean, I don't think they lose today. I really don't.
Are we talking about the Cowboys?
No, I mean the Cowboys would be a game behind the Eagles, and now the Eagles basically have to beat them on Christmas Day if they lose to the Bears.
If we lose to the Bears, I ain't worried about losing to the Bears. Could the Cowboys be looking ahead to the Eagles and bypassing Jacksonville?
No, because of what happened last week against the Texans. They're not looking ahead.
They got their wake up call.
I think so too.
Because of the Texans. And you saw what Lawrence did against Tennessee.
Right. Well, I'm interested to see that game. Obviously it's it's an early.
Yeah, it's a 12:00 game.
That's going to be going on the same. Yeah, it's the same thing. That's going to be going on the same time as our game. So it's going to be interesting to see that and see how they are with Jacksonville, because I think Jacksonville's got a puncher's chance. I mean, we talked about it last week that we thought Houston was going to give Dallas a little bit of a run, and they did. So I think Jacksonville's going to do the same thing.
I think they're going to get after Jacksonville this week. I think they learned their lesson last week. And Jacksonville has more talent, obviously, than Houston. And Jacksonville's got a little banged up.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah, but I think Jacksonville's got a better defense than
Pags, let's get on to the picks before, we got to get on to the picks. So, let's start that. So we're going to start off with the Chiefs playing at the Texans. Let's see. It's a 1:00 game, of course. Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes and Kittle and all the characters there. Texans 1-11-1. I don't see any way the Texans even come close to beating the Chiefs. So I'm taking the Chiefs easily over Texas. What do you guys think? Start with Jack. What do you think?
Yeah, the games at Houston. I mean, Kansas City may have benefited from Dallas by Houston because maybe they'll take them just a touch more seriously than they would have. Chiefs should win by 15 points or so.
Jim, you agree?
I agree with both of you guys. I'm with Pickles. Chiefs by 13.
Right. And Pags, who do you got?
Chiefs by a lot.
Okay, so that's everybody. We move along. We got the Steelers playing the Panthers in Carolina. I think isn't Pickett's out and
Mitch Trubisky is supposed to be starting.
Yeah, Trubisky's playing at the Panthers. I think Carolina at home will beat the Steelers. They got a better running game. Their defense is just as good. So I'm going to go with the Panthers in a close one. Who do you got, Chip?
I have the Panthers. I think the Panthers are running, and they're playing really good defense. And the Panthers might end up winning that division. So I'm going to go with the Panthers. Oh, my God.
Oh, boy.
You're playing the Bears this week.
I had to show.
Okay.
Yeah.
That shows the Eagles are looking ahead.
Yes.
But oh boy. Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin has full control of that team, but there's a little bit of a quarterback issue over there. Pickett being out. Mason Rudolph said he doesn't feel like he's really part of the team, and he's been with Tomlin for a few years, so Tomlin has to be pretty fond of Mason Rudolph if he's had him for a few years. And he says Trubisky is the number one backup, but Rudolph is 1A. They're very close. Trubisky's starting. I have a feeling they go to Rudolph at some point with all this talk. But Carolina, they seem to have a little momentum going over there. Sam Darnold is having a tiny resurgence. So I like the Panthers at 23-13.
Right.
Not a big resurgence, a tiny one. Nothing to get excited about. But he's the right guy for Carolina for the rest of the season.
So, Pags,
I think Carolina wins this game. Actually, I think that Pittsburgh is in a little bit of disarray. I think it becomes official this week that Tomlin will not hit 500 or above 500, and I think that Carolina is still going to have an opportunity to win this division when this week is over.
Okay, so we got Detroit going to the New York Jets. Jack, what do you think? Who do you got? Who do you got winning that game?
Well, to me, this is the game of the week. In the NFL, this matchup. It's such a great matchup. I picked against the Jets the last 2 weeks. I'm going to pick them to win today. I know Detroit's on a big roll and they have all this momentum. And you have to, at this point, give Jared Goff an edge over Zach Wilson, the quarterback office, having a great year. The Lions defense still isn't that good. They're really not. I mean, they've been improving, but they're not that good. I have to count on the Jet defense to come up big. And I think Zach Wilson's going to have a good game today. And the Jets are going to beat the Lions something like 23-17. It might even go into overtime, that type of game.
What do you think, Jim?
Well, because the original Jetman is not there today, I'm going to go with Detroit. I think Detroit's going to win. I think Goff is playing well. And I think right now, Detroit has better offensive weapons than the Jets. The Jets might be better defensively, but I think they're a little bit better offensively. And I think Dan Campbell is going to get this group going because they still got a chance to make the playoffs like the Jets.
Yeah, definitely. And Pax, who you got?
So I'm not a firm believer in Dan Campbell, but I am a firm believer in Deuce Staley. Deuce Staley being the assistant head coach over there, I think he's really the engine that makes that team move in certain directions. And I think that they are still primed to be able to try to get to a playoff spot. And I expect that they're going to try to do everything that they can to make that happen. So I have the Lions over the Jets, and unfortunately, the Jets fall further out of playoff contention.
All right. There you go, Jack. Yeah, I'm definitely taking the Lions.
That defense, okay? I mean, am I the only guy who respects defense here on the panel, or what? Put your faith in an elite defense always. You guys you three think of offensive weapons all the time. I think a hard-nosed defense, okay? I mean, in defensive schemes, the Jets have an elite defense. It's going to come out today.
Jack, I agree with Jim's assessment of the Jetman not being there. So, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to take Detroit just because of that.
So you're saying Pat's the difference maker for the Eagles as well. If he's absent, the game, it affects the whole
He is.
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
All right. So next game. I know who Jim's going with here. Dallas at the Jaguars. Jim is definitely taking Jacksonville to upset the Cowboys. So
I think they're going to get after him today because they realize what happened in Houston. And this is their last game against the AFC South. And they've beaten everybody. Well, they still got to play Tennessee. So
right. So I guess I'm putting you down for the Cowboys then, Jim, right?
Yes.
That's what you're saying? All right.
Yes.
Jack, you think this is a trap game? You think
No, actually, no. I think Dallas might be so psyched for the Eagles that they're raring to go right now, and they'll kind of take it out on Jacksonville. I don't mean it's going to be a rout, but they'll beat them by a couple of touchdowns. I think they're looking ahead, but they're going to take their looking ahead out onto the field today. And they got their little scare last week, and that is helping the Cowboys. Like, whoa, anyone could beat us if we, aren't focused. So they'll be focused enough to win.
And it's always been, I was always concerned. The Texans won their first game in their franchise against the Cowboys.
Right.
And they've always been a pain in the ass for the Cowboys.
All right. There you go. Jim telling it like it is. Pags, I mean.
So I have a little bit of a different take here. So Doug Peterson and McCarthy were on the same staff for a little while. And I think that Doug has got, it knows a little bit about him. Obviously, he played him as an Eagle. They coached against each other. They coached with each other. I think Dallas wins this game. I think it's going to be a lot closer than Jim is putting it out to be. But I expect that Dallas will win this game and get ready for Jacksonville. Get ready for the Eagles. But I don't expect Jacksonville to just lay over and die. I think it's going to be much closer and much more. You're going to see old Doug Peterson going for it on fourth down, doing weirdo plays that are going to confuse Dallas. And it's going to be a lot closer than you think.
All right. Pickles has Dallas by 9. And, of course, I'm riding the Cowboy train, even though I don't want to. So, so Pag, I guess we're going to let you go first on this because it's your team. And I mean, the Bears against the Eagles. I'm calling for a special here, but how about you?
I think that it's not going to be close. I think the Bears have a hard time scoring points. That you're going to see. I think you're going to see Fields actually play a pretty good game today, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to have some yardage. He may score a touchdown, maybe score 2. I think, but that's going to be really it. I think that the Eagles are going to score over 30 points again. I got a 31-17, 31-10 type of situation again.
Yeah.
I can't go against the Eagles because they're flat out better than the Bears. But any NFL team could beat any NFL team. I think the Eagles should win easy by about 17 points. But I kind of wonder, for one game only, not the standings, what's not at stake, which team is going to be more motivated for this one game? I get the feeling the Bears are going to be more motivated because, in a sense, this is their season. They're playing for something. They're playing the number 1 rated team in the NFL today. So for a team that's had a miserable year like the Bears, it's a chance to do something, to get a little badge of honor. So that I'd be a little concerned if I were the Eagles, not to take the game lightly, but when all's said and done, Philadelphia should take care of business decisively.
Well, this is Pickles upset special tags.
So if they win this game, they go from 3rd pick to the 9th pick in the draft. Just so that you know.
All right, so there you go. Falcons at the Saints. Of course, I got the Eagles also.
Hey,
Falcons
wait a minute. You put me there. I had the Eagles too.
Well, Jim. Okay. Jim has the Eagles too. Okay, we got you, Jim. You're all set.
Okay, because I know how you guys, that Linda does it sometimes, so she's got to hear me say that.
Right. Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. So the Falcons go into New Orleans. Both teams, I mean, I guess the Falcons are a little younger. The Saints are a little bit older. They're both, I think, pretty equal. I don't know I would imagine the Saints are going to rebuild next year, Jim. So what do you got?
I'm going to go with the Falcons are trying another team that could possibly win the NFC South. That shows you how weak it is. But I'm going to go with the Saints. And the Saints have only won 4 times this year.
Yeah, it is.
Desmond Ridder is starting quarterback now.
Not that that's a big deal because Atlanta's only won 5 games, so it's not like it's a big stretch from one to the other. But I'm rooting for the Birds today because I want to see the Saints lose again and us get the 4th pick in the draft rather than the 5th.
All right.
Yeah, Desmond Ridder, starting finally, and Marcus Mariota. Was he cut or something? He asked out. He wanted to leave. He doesn't want to be out.
He walked off. He left
Is
the
he
team.
Still on the team
now he's on IR. He's on IR.
I mean, that's a bad sign. A really bad sign. What is Desmond Ridder really going to do? He's been practicing all year, but he hasn't gotten the majority of the reps in practice. And the Saints still have something to play for, like the Falcons. If they win, the Buccaneers lose. The Saints actually have a shot at winning the division if Carolina loses. So they're playing for something as well. New Orleans is not an easy place to play at. So, I would think they would beat the Falcons by about 5 points competitive.
Yeah. I think it's a good game. I'd love to see Ridder play a good game too. That would be awesome to see that young kid do something. So
it was a 4-year start of that, Cincy.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah, I got the Saints too. The Patriots going into to Las Vegas. What do you think, Jack? I mean, does Las Vegas have a shot at them?
Well, it's Josh McDaniels against his old coach Bill Belichick. I mean, they know one another like a book as far as coaching strategies go. Las Vegas has been underachievers. They have all this talent on that team. They've seems to have more talent maybe than New England, but New England, just a hard-nosed team and so well coached there. I mean, when you look at their personnel, I would think New England they'll go into Las Vegas with all that's at stake. New England by a field goal. Las Vegas always finds a way to lose games. They'll find a way to lose today's game.
Okay, and Jim, I mean, I know the Raiders' defensive line is probably better. Well, it's not better than the Patriots either. I think they'll match up against the offensive line of the Patriots, though. I don't know. Is the starting quarterback for the Raiders is it still
Eric Carr?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with the Raiders because only reason I'm going with the Raiders, I'm not a Raiders fan, but I think they can score more points than New England. And that's why I'm going with the Raiders. And that's the only reason. It is not. And I think New England's probably better defensively, but I think Raiders can score with Devontae Adams. I don't know if they can cover Devontae Adams.
Don't you think Bill Belichick is going to gear the defense to, basically to stop Adams and Jacobs, the two guys? Who really
he does that, but like we've said, Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller are coming back. So if he does that, they do have other weapons.
I ended up changing my pick. I was going with the Patriots and thinking about it more. with Carr and Devontae Adams, I changed my pick to the Raiders. So we'll see what happens. Pags, who do you got?
I'm sorry about that. I have the Patriots. I think the Raiders find different ways to lose, and that's what they're really good at. Out of everything else, they're good at losing games and taking defeat from the jaws of victory. So it's like they're really good at that, and I think that's going to happen again today.
Okay, and your friend Frank Lotirzo said anybody but the Eagles, even the Taliban traveling.
Frank is not really a Philly guy. He likes to think that he's a Philly guy. He wants to act like he's all tough. He's from Philly, but the truth of the matter is, he's just like another New York Jets fan.
Laterzo is my partner on Glove Fist, and I think he was making a comment. Let me just paraphrase. He feels, Pags, you fooled the Philadelphia fans long enough.
Hey, listen, I wouldn't put Frank down. Frank's a former player.
Hey, listen, just because I got some big hands too, and he's a little older now, so let him come out with it. He wouldn't say that stuff to my face.
Listen, we're gonna set up an exhibition fight between you and Frank. I think. What do you think about that, Jack?
For charity, it depends
just
who
for
wins.
charity.
If Pax wins, the money goes to the Eagle charity.
Right.
If Laterzo wins, the money goes around the pool halls of Philly.
Okay. All right.
Is that the Turkish pools? Are those the Turkish pools or the billiards halls?
Yes. So there you go. Laugh out loud. Pickles taking the Raiders, in that game. And believe it or not, Pickles, Linda writes down your picks. And that's pretty good. When you got Linda writing down your picks, that's some respect there. So I just thought I'd let you know that. The Cardinals at the Broncos. Russell Wilson's not playing. The Bronco fans are celebrating. The Cardinals, Kyle Murray's hurt. I think Colt McCoy is his backup, if I'm not mistaken. And, I think the Cardinals beat the Broncos just because. I don't know. So, what do you think there, Jim? Give me your.
I'm gonna go with the Broncos. I just think the Cardinals are a mess. It wouldn't shock me, but after we said earlier about the owners, Cliff Kingsbury's in problems. He's got problems there, and it's just not him. It's Kyler Murray. It's what they do, and the Broncos' defense is actually pretty good.
Very true.
About the Broncos.
No, I agree with Jim. Let's ignore the records of every team. At this moment, I think the Arizona Cardinals are the worst team in the NFL. Worst team in the NFL at this moment. I mean, there's nothing there. No spark, nothing at all. I mean, they have an elite receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, a couple other good players, but they're the worst team, like Jim said. Broncos have a good defense, and I kind of wonder if they win today. I think they're going to win by a couple of touchdowns, the Broncos, whether there's a movement to sit Russell Wilson on the bench and play Brett Ripien or whatever.
Oh, he's out, Jim. He's out.
He's out.
He's out.
Ripien is out?
He's out.
No, Wilson.
Oh,
He's out.
Wilson is out. I know they're sending him out of concussion protocol for 1 week. But whether when he's ready to come back, probably next week, whether there's going to be talk of, I'll leave him second string, for a little bit longer. Because the money they have invested in Wilson, he's got to be their starter next year because no one else is going to take him off their hands.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you got, Pags?
I think Denver romps today. I think that they rally around the fact that Russell Wilson ain't out there, and all of a sudden everybody plays out of their minds, and they score like 45 points today.
All right. I'm putting Byron down with the Cardinals, Jim. You know how he is with the Cardinals. He loves the Cardinals.
Yeah. He loves the Cardinals.
He does. He
saw Kyler Murray in high school.
Yeah, so that's his reason for everything when it comes to the Cardinals. So we got the Bengals going to Tampa. Tampa at home. What do you think, Pags? Do you think Tampa has a shot at beating the Bengals?
No chance. No chance. Joe Burrows has got his team kicking on all cylinders. They can take over the North with the win, get up a full game on Baltimore, and I think they take very full advantage of that situation, and they just beat down Tampa Bay.
What do you think, Jim?
Pags is right. People forget that Cincinnati is 9-4. They're not a bad team, and I'm gonna go with Cincinnati. I think Tampa Bay's got all kind of issues. Mentioned earlier in the show, Vita Vea's out, Tristan Wirfs out. They got some injuries, and their receivers are not playing up to their. Leonard Fournette is not playing well. I just think that Cincinnati is going to win this game. It's going to be a tougher game than people anticipate, but I think Cincinnati will come out on top.
Yeah, Cincinnati, of course, first place, beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I think Jim said it best. Tampa Bay strikes me as a team that's really demoralized all around, from top to bottom, and Cincy is on a big upswing, and they have a pretty good team as is. I think just flat out a better team than Tampa Bay. I kind of wonder, is Brady truly in decline, or is it the circumstances of the team? I mean, is Brady still a top-of-the-line quarterback if you put him in the right situation? I kind of wonder about that.
Probably a combination of both, Jack.
I was just going to say that.
I think life has got caught up with him a little bit. Between losing all his money in FTX, getting divorced, all that stuff, that he's got so much else on his plate that football is like third, and that's part of the problem. I think you'll see him come back and make a little bit of a resurgence next year, but I think this year's done for him.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think Brady's still a very good quarterback, and next year I think you'll see him improve, and maybe the stuff.
He'll be 46 years old, right? He'll be 46 years old.
Yeah, man, I mean, that's incredible. So, by the way, I took the Bengals. The Titans are at the Chargers. Tennessee's just, I mean, they flopped at the end of the season here. I think the Chargers still have a shot at the playoffs, and they're a pretty good team. So I'm going to go with the Chargers. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, Tennessee's in a free fall. And I remember earlier, Jim, you were talking about running backs. They don't have a long career, truly. I think Derrick Henry might be hitting that point, the start of his decline. He's still very, very good, but he's no longer the force that he was before. And the Chargers, they have a lot more I don't want to say a lot more to play for, but every game's of vital importance. Tennessee could actually afford to lose. They might win the division by losing, and even if they lose their 4 remaining games. That's the ironic part about it. I like the Chargers by about 13 points.
Jim?
Mm-hmm. I like Tennessee in this game. They got to win.
Wow.
I just think Tennessee is going to beat the Chargers this week, and it's a must-win for them. And you say, yeah, but I just still don't have confidence in the Chargers because they're another team similar to Vegas where they can make the mistakes to lose and when they're in a position to win.
Very interesting. What do you think, Pat?
I think the same exact thing. I think that every time you expect the Chargers to do well and that they could start to grab the bull by the horns, they blow it. And that's their MO. And I think that goes back to bad coaching. I think that's part of the reason why they are considering trying to work out what they can figure out to get Sean Payton. But I'm a firm believer that the Chargers are not worth putting your money on, and I think that they lose today to the Titans.
All right, so we have the New York Giants going up against the Washington Commanders. Of course, I'm a homer. I freely admit it. You can swing your club, big guy. I freely admit it. The Giants will beat the Commanders a lot. They're getting healthier. Landon Collins is back. I like Daniel Jones in the matchup with the Commanders' defensive backs. Young is back. Chase Young is back, so Jones will probably be sacked about 10 more times this game. But I'm taking the Giants and the squeaker guys. Maybe like, I don't know, 21-20 or something like that. What do you think, Pags?
I got him tying. 19-19.
Wow. You have to
Actually, I'll be honest. I think that Washington is the better team right now. That they're going to probably beat them. It's going to be another close game. It wouldn't surprise me if it was another tie, but I actually have. I think it goes to overtime, and I think Washington wins it 23-20 in overtime.
Who do you got?
I think this is the Giants' last stand as far as I'm concerned. Any chance of making the playoffs? I mean, they played the Eagles last week. I don't know were they confident they could beat the Eagles, whether they truly looked at it as a winnable game. I'm sure they thought they could win, but this is different. I mean, maybe they feel they're going to win today. I look for something similar to the first game where Pags was just joking around about a tie. I'm going to pick Washington in overtime. It's going to be that type of game. I mean, it's just nip and tuck the whole way. And this is basically going to end the Giants' aspirations of making the playoffs today. They're going to leave it all on the field and, coming down to the wire.
I don't believe it ends their aspirations. There's a lot of things that still could happen as far as teams losing that. So Jim,
break their heart losing this game today. The way
I agree with that.
So
Jim,
my heart says the Washington is going to win this thing, but my gut is going with the Giants. And a lot of just listening to what everybody's saying, I think the Giants are in a situation, and they did tie the game. They should have won it.
Right.
The Giants should have won the game, and I just think the Giants are going to figure out a way to win this game. The thing that concerns me about the Giants is Leonard Williams being questionable. If he can't play, it's going to be difficult for him because they're going to have to. I like the Giants, and I know everybody likes Rivera, but I think the ball is a good coach.
Yeah.
What I mean demoralizing a team, I could take Jim back to when he played the second after Dallas won the Super Bowl, your second year, you played the Giants in a big game in the Meadowlands. You have to remember that game to see who'd win the division. Giants left it all on the field. I mean, the Cowboys won in overtime in that game. But that demoralized the Giants. From that point in, the Giants were in the same team, and they exited early in the playoffs, and the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. Had the Giants won that game, they would have been a lot tougher to beat going forward. They would have won the division. They would have had all this confidence. That game had to break the Giants' heart because they came so close to a monster victory. I think something similar happens to the Giant team today along those lines. I think losing a tight one to Washington's absolutely going to demoralize them the rest of the way.
Well, listen, Jim brings up a huge point. The Giants had that game. If that kicker didn't miss the field goal, the Giants win that game. He's not missing that field goal this game, guys. He's not going to miss a field goal this game. And the
that was a 58-yarder note.
Still, I listen.
You can't hold that against 58.
I'm not going against them. But Giants, I just think the Giants are going to find a way to win this game, and it's going to be close. It might be a 1-point game.
Yeah.
I just think they're going to find a way, so I'm going to go with the Giants. I think Washington is doing some good things, but Heineke's got to come back to earth.
Yeah. I mean, he's been playing really well, though. He really has. And, of course, Jim is coming out of the closet again. We try to deny he's a Giants fan.
You know what Pax does? Pax, no matter what he says about the Cowboys, he looks at them as an opponent when they go head-to-head. But you know what he looks at the Giants as, Mac? He looks at the Giants as a sparring partner for the Eagles.
Yeah, I can see. I can see that. I can see that, and
but that's the percentage. They're close to each other, Jack.
Yeah.
I mean, what's an hour and a half?
Yeah,
listen. That's how he looks at the threat they pose. At least Pax, as much as he hates to admit it, he does look at the Cowboys as a threat, one that he feels the Eagles could squash, but nevertheless a serious threat. The Giants, when they play Philly, he looks at it as like sparring in the gym, like he'll hire them as a sparring partner.
Pags gives the Giants credit when they're due. I mean, he does credit the Giants in the season they're having every now and then. So
one more game, Mac. I'm sorry I cut in. My boy, I didn't mean to pass on his game. Aaron Rodgers, the Rams, and the Packers.
Oh my God! Listen, Jack, you could take your poster down of Aaron Rodgers, take it off the wall.
Anyone can run the table and win these next few games, have a miraculous comeback, win the next 4 here. It's Aaron Rodgers with the Packers, and I think it starts today that they do beat the Rams. Baker Mayfield had his miracle week. They know what's at stake. The Packers, they beat the Rams today at Green Bay.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Jordan Love play today, just to let you know, Jack. So, Jim, who do you got?
I'm going to go with the Packers. But I think Jordan Love is going to get traded.
Very possible.
Yeah. But I just think the Packers and the Rams are Aaron Donald's not playing again, obviously Stafford. But just like Jack said, Baker Mayfield had his week last week.
Yeah, I agree with that. Pags, who you got?
Obviously, I think the Packers. Actually, I think Baker Mayfield makes a little bit of resurgence here. I think that you guys are poo-pooing past the fact that he actually is a halfway decent quarterback. So I think that the Packers stink. I think that Aaron Rodgers is not as good as he's been in previous years. And I think that the Rams win this game because Baker wills them to.
There you go. Pags, the only one picking that because Pickles picks the Packers by 14. Pickles picks the Packers. Say that 3 times fast, guys. Can't do it. I'm going with the Packers too, even though I give Jack a hard time about Aaron Rodgers. I think they win today, but they're not making the playoffs, Jack. Let's be realistic. So guys, we're coming to the end of the show. I guess I don't know if I want to do the playoff picks right now or not. We'll probably save that for next week. Yeah.
Playoff picks, Mac. You can't make playoff picks now. Come on.
Playoffs.
Yeah, we got
Playoffs.
I got you.
We got to win a game.
Guys, here's the records of date. I'm at 120 leading right now. I'm just kidding. Jack has 126. He's in first place. Jim's 122, and I think Pags has like 70 wins or something like that because we haven't been counting him all through the season, so off and on. So we'll that's still good.
Wait, what do you have?
I have a better record. I have it more points, not necessarily on wins.
Right, exactly. So there you go. So I'm at 120.
Okay,
I'm way behind.
Jack has got a 4-game lead, huh?
Yes. So we got to tag.
Team, who would we be? I'm thinking who I would be. I would be maybe like the Buccaneers, a half-game lead or something in that division.
All right. That's fair. I'd be the Giants and beating the Buccaneers, and Jim be the Cowboys, and he'd be losing to both teams. So there you go. That's what it would look like right now. So, folks, thanks for joining us at this is the funnest show of the week for us. I'm glad you joined us. We always have a lot of participation, and enjoy the games today.
As always, go Birds! Yeah! I know you were waiting for it. You were waiting for it all day long. I just gave it to you. Go Birds! And also, happy birthday to my son. So it's 14 today.
Right, happy birthday! Excellent.
Happy birthday!
Excellent.
Happy birthday,
guys. Have a great one, and we'll see you on Thursday. Take care.
We'll see you on